Welcome back to the Audible Angle. Just me and Urbs again today. Kind of a whirlwind of content we're pushing out here this week and throughout the week. If you haven't checked it out, go back and check out our last episode. We had Take'em Gear owner Brian Urban on talking duck hunting. Had some technical difficulties there. I did have actually a listener reach out, and they were about maybe a quarter way through the episode, and I had to explain it kind of two different ways, which is its own sidebar. But they're like, so when does Bruce come back on? And I didn't hear Bruce. And I was like, well, that's why I did the early recording. We had technical difficulties. Don't worry, folks. We're going to get Bruce, president of Wisconsin Waterfowl Association, back. And we're already going to have Brian back because we got through about 1/8 of the things that we had intended to on duck hunting. So stick with us for that. We are going to diversify content, but we're getting back to an old regular friend, one that I kind of was, slow to warm up on as NFL dominates the cycle, which, Irby, I don't see any NFL topics in here. Oh, I might have a slide in at the end, but Irby, I'm admitting I was missing out on college basketball earlier this fall. What had you excited this week? With one caveat, I'll give you one piece of excitement. Audible Angle keeps giving you wins if you're a wagering type of guy. We had locks of the week hit again. One of the locks, and just barely, Wisconsin Badgers finally get ranked nationally. Who knows how much rankings matter? As we discussed, they deserve to be in there much sooner. Urbs, take us through what I missed in college basketball, and not the whole thing because I don't want you to talk for an hour. I got to get in here some way, but hit the highlights of the past 7 days.
Well, I'll answer your first question first, Dillian. What had me excited through the weekend was what the Badgers did to Michigan State, and not necessarily what they did, but it was kind of how they did it. I couldn't see that. Obviously, we talked about in our last episode there last week. We talked about how the Badgers were probably going to have a pretty good chance of beating Michigan State at home, even though they were unranked at the time. Michigan State was in the top 10, holding on to that top 10 spot at number 10. And I was pleasantly surprised to see this game for all the season, Dilly. If you've been watching Wisconsin basketball, and I know it's like pulling teeth to get you to watch Wisconsin basketball, but most of the games have come down to the last possession, the last couple possessions. This was not one of them. That had me pretty excited. The Badgers were in control, ended winning by 20, and even had Coach Izzo telling us how bad his team played. And if you play that bad, you're going to get your butt kicked like that. And it wasn't that many words. But that had me excited coming into this week of action. I know that we're only sitting here on Wednesday night. We talked about the Badgers being a top 25 team that came to fruition Monday afternoon. Now, I don't know how long that's going to be. We'll get into that, Dilly, but that had me excited. The Big 12 always has me excited. Iowa State coming up big, laying a beat down on Arizona. I think we'll talk about Arizona. They've got a game tonight. But, boy, I think we were right again. Arizona's losing games. They were undefeated, and now you turn your head. You blink, Dilly, and they've got 2 losses. That had me excited. That's
I believe what you said about Arizona was not enough big dudes, right? Was that the not enough big dudes team? And, man, again, listen closely, folks. And, you could have been on those 2 – it was back-to-back Arizona losses, right?
Yeah,
back-to-back.
Yeah.
There's a team that I feel we've talked about, and we talk a lot of Big Ten basketball, but when you're talking about the second tier and third tier, and is Purdue in that? Is Wisconsin fighting their way into that second tier, the 3-loss teams? I wouldn't say we forget about them, but we don't always give them their due. Michigan picked on one of our favorite teams, the number 7 at the time, Purdue Boilermakers, who we kind of had on the do not believe fully list, like a little bit of a slide. I mean, they're good, but a little bit of a slide team. Would take us through Michigan and Purdue.
Good game, high-stakes game. Michigan was at home, so they're always going to be the favorite. Michigan got their number 1 ranking back after the Badgers kind of took that away from them a couple weeks back when the Badgers started playing better. You know, people were questioning Michigan State going into the Wisconsin game and their ranking at 10. People are like, well, why are they at 10? I think you were one of them. Like, why are they so highly ranked and Wisconsin's not in? And I think that's an exact conversation that we maybe had. And I'll tell you, I have the same thoughts on Purdue. How are they number 7 in the country? Like, quietly, you know what I think of their point guard. He can fly kites as far as I'm concerned. But Michigan kind of flexed their muscles. Purdue didn't back down, only won by a few. I think Purdue is one of those teams that's going to be dangerous all the way through the Big Ten and into the NCAA tournament, Dilly. They just are. I have a hard time getting my arms around them, kind of like the Patriots and kind of like the Denver Broncos were in the NFL season. It's kind of, I think at the end of the day, they're going to prove us right, and they're maybe a little overranked, Purdue. But Michigan, I think maybe we should take a minute here. I think Michigan's the real deal, and maybe they're proving that they are the best of the best. They haven't won they haven't lost many games, and the games that they won, Dilly, still are by big margins. I think they're averaging 20 plus in their wins. Are they the best team in the country?
Well, you know, they have more big dudes than Arizona, so that's a plus. I was looking over the record. Yeah, it is hard to find a blemish on the record when they have one loss, and it was to Wisconsin, and it was at home, so that is a blemish. Although Wisconsin isn't chump change, we'll talk about it more later. You know, that's not exactly a meltdown of epic proportions, losing by 3 points to a solid Wisconsin team. But if you look through the schedule, you're right. They're beating up on the teams and middle of the pack teams, Indiana, Ohio. Pretty comfortable wins against most of the teams. And then when they have a big game, according to the rankings at the time, you know, Nebraska, Michigan State, Purdue, most recently, they come through in those too. They come through with the victory, and some of those games aren't particularly, you know, they're not buzzer beater wins. Nebraska was close, but you know, the Purdue game, most recent, that wasn't a buzzer beater. Now, we are gonna perhaps get a good look at Michigan on the 21st here. It is Wednesday, so that's Saturday, this upcoming Saturday. They have the Duke Blue Devils in a Big Ten match. Oh, no, wait. Random non-conference game coming up for Michigan. Let's slide a little Duke talk in here. That another team we've talked about a little bit, but kind of neglected is that, and they're at Duke. Does that put the icing on the cake? Final nail in the coffin? They're number 1, and it's not close if they take care of Duke at Duke.
I'm going to answer in a couple ways. It solidifies them as a national championship caliber team if they go in and they beat Duke. Now, this is I believe, at a neutral court. Not sure what the NCAA is doing in the fact that they have like a mini 8-team like highlight college crown. Like, I'm going to call it a tournament. It's not. But it's like the showcase game, right? Like the showcase games, highly ranked teams, maybe to drum up some interest. Not sure what Duke or Michigan has to gain in this game, and they have a lot to lose, right? Like if Michigan loses to Duke, Duke may be the second-ranked team, possibly the number 1 ranked team on the next Monday. If Michigan wins, they stay number 1, and they probably are number 1. I look at their schedule. I don't know if there's no gimme games there, but there's not a lot of high-stakes game. Duke's probably going to roll through the rest of the season. So this game, I will tell you, will lock in a 1 seed for either winner of this. They're going to be locked in. I think in arguably both teams have probably done enough. Duke's conference doesn't help them this year. But I don't think that because it's so volatile and there's so many Big 12 versus Big 12 crime, Big 10 versus Big 10 crime, there's so much to be played out in those conference tournaments that these teams aren't guaranteed anything really, other than the fact that the winner of this game is a bona fide championship contender. I think they both are either way, Dilly. So maybe there isn't a lot to lose, and that begs the question back to what you asked already. How much credence do we put in the rankings anyway? I think you put more credence in the rankings in men's basketball for the NCAA than you do, obviously, for the football and with their championship. Different animal, different championships, 65, 68 teams in this one, 12 in the other. But I think that the winner of this is a bona fide 1 seed.
Yeah, that's pretty. I mean, it does beg the question a little bit. It's a big game. It's fun for the fans. Michigan ranked a little higher, only 1 loss so far. It does make you think Michigan can probably absorb the loss, and unless something came off the rails, they're going to be a 1 seed. Now, how much do we really factor in? The top 1 seed of the bracketology. Everybody's normally shaking their head when the brackets come out anyway, but it could be a little bit of a factor in that. Let's keep it in the Big Ten. Our friends in Nebraska played Iowa. Our friends in Nebraska have often come up, for me as a lay person per se, wondering if they're going to take the slide eventually. And we talked up Iowa a lot, as Wisconsin has some Iowa matchups left. Iowa's just a tough team. That's all they are. And they take down Nebraska. When was that? That was yesterday.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What do you see there? Is it Nebraska faltering? Is it Big Ten tough? Is it Nebraska's really, they're down in the mix with a bunch of other teams in the Big Ten?
I'm really interested, Dilly, to be honest, to see how Iowa reacts to playing Wisconsin in the next game. So this game, the next game is a Sunday. That's at Wisconsin. Because here's why. I don't know the score. The final score was 57-52. That's like a high school. That's Bayport versus Preble on Friday night here locally. That's not a Big Ten score unless you know how both of these teams play. Iowa used to be, about 2 years ago, they'd shoot a lot of threes, score a lot of points. They had some NBA guys on their roster. I don't think that's that Iowa team this year. I think this is a grinded-out Iowa team. Will play you tough, kind of hard-nosed, bloody your face kind of defense. Nebraska's the same. But I think that we've been talking about it. We've been hinting at it. We haven't been really nailing it down, Dilly. But I think Nebraska's on a downward trend here, and I don't know what's wrong. And I'm pretty sure that Freddie Hoiberg doesn't know what's wrong either, but he's panicking a little bit down there. They're 9th ranked now. They won't be 9th ranked come Monday. Not sure who Nebraska has next either. I believe we were talking about them having a pretty tough schedule. So I think
opposite. Audible. Opposite. They got Penn State, Maryland, USC, UCLA, and then a revenge game against Iowa. So I think we did actually talk about because they lost to Purdue, we knew they'd beat Northwestern, said Iowa would be a little tough, and then they have enough of a stretch there where they win, let's just say they win 4 in a row. It's perfectly reasonable for them to do that. They'll be 26-4 rematch against Iowa. All of a sudden you're looking at a 26-27 win team, and you go back to thinking, well, man, they're pretty good. They're going to be a 3 seed or a 4 seed or something, and maybe even with some wins in there in the Big Ten tournament. Do they end up being a 2 seed that everybody ends up looking at their record and not go back and realize, well, when they faced the stiffest competition, they went down. Especially recently, Michigan, Illinois, Purdue, Iowa, and then they win the games you're supposed to. Some teams do that.
I like the narrative where we're going with this episode, Dilly, and kind of projecting where they're going to be in the NCAAs. I think you're right. They're probably going to, because you're right. They do. I was mistaken. They have an easy schedule, right, for all intents and purposes. I'm only putting an asterisk there because it's Big Ten games. We just, we saw some kind of funny games here, but Nebraska. It's more, this game, to answer your question, Dilly, was more about how bad Nebraska played, where Nebraska's going. But I think they're going to get out unscathed looking forward in the NCAA tournament, we don't know what happens with Nebraska in the Big Ten tournament, but the NCAA March Madness, this is a team that's going to get a 2-3 seed. And I'm going to say it again. I think I said it last episode. Nebraska's a team that you've got to watch getting upset here in the round of 32. If they win that first round game, I wouldn't put it past them if they get a bad matchup to lose that first round. So just watch them.
Let's go out of order here on the show sheet a little bit, and let's keep it in the Big Ten, and let's talk about it. Ohio State, Wisconsin gets the big wins. They get ranked. We talked about some untimely losses, maybe kind of affected their ascent into the national rankings, and they kind of laid an egg here against Ohio State. And does it knock them out of the rankings? What did you see in the game? You have told me, and I listen to the show, when they're making three-pointers, they're pretty tough. They beat Michigan on the road when they're making three-pointers. They beat Michigan State. I'm guessing they weren't making a lot of three-pointers versus Ohio State.
Yeah, you went right to the stat that it's very telling for me, Dilly, and the Badgers made 7 threes. And to give you an idea of what they averaged, we talked about this last episode, they averaged making 10. When they beat when they beat Illinois, they made 16. This game they made 7. 5 of those threes were made by Braden Carrington when he came on as a reserve. He made 5 threes. He caught a little fire in the second half. It was ice cold. It was hard to watch. The Badgers scored 24 points in the first half. They didn't play defense well enough. They caught fire. A freshman for Ohio State kind of caught fire. Thornton was back in the first 5, and he did what he does, kind of threatens a triple-double every game when he plays and he's healthy. This was a bad game. When you make 7 threes and you're shooting too many, we needed our backcourt. I'm sorry, our backcourt to be better, which was my friend Boyd and my friend Blackwell. They scored 14 points each. Winter chips in the front court for 10. Scoring 69 points isn't going to win very many games. Maybe you would have won the Nebraska-Iowa game, but that's not good enough in this game. And it's going to be – this is one of those – and Dilly, I got to ask you, do you believe in trap games? Do you believe in that this sandwich between a big Michigan State game on national television at home and an Iowa game that they knew was going to be tough at home, was this one that the Badgers could have overlooked? Do you think Greg Gard is better than that, or is this a classic trap game?
I think it was a very classic trap game. I think, I think coaches do all they can to get around that. I think some of that is just natural because you have to expend so much when you're the underdog and, perceived underdog, getting upsets against highly ranked teams, well-coached teams like Michigan State. There's no gimmies there. It's easy to come down. I mean, as much as, maybe I try to sometimes rag on fans a little bit, that get emotional. It's the same for the players. You can't help but start to think, well, we kind of rose out of the muck in the middle of the Big Ten with a couple of big wins. Ohio State, that's another, get that win, take care of that, but also physically, you're physically worn out from that exertion, even though, these are young athletes and in great shape. It's a mental and physical toll to overcome and win in some big matchups. So, yes, in short, very much a trap game.
Yeah, it's a kind of perpetual question, Dilly, and I'm going out of order here too, but I do have a question that I just want to follow up. I sent you a picture from this Saturday morning about the Big Ten versus Big 12 and the SEC and the NCAA. How many bids each team is going to get? I think they had the.
Oh yeah, that was garbage.
I think it is garbage, but is there something to talk about? I mean, we all kind of expect Iowa, and let's be honest, if Iowa goes and beats Wisconsin, Iowa might find themselves at number 25 or number 24. Looked like Alabama was losing tonight to a really good Arkansas team. They're on the up. Bama was actually on the upslide too. I was surprised to see that score. But, man, it just seems like Big Ten basketball is hard, even on the bottom tier. You'd think that the Badgers have an easy road for the rest of the way when they go out to their West Coast swing playing Oregon and Washington, but not so fast, man. I think that I thought that there was maybe a path where they win all 6 that were remaining and really make a claim in that top tier in the Big Ten. But now I question it. Are they good enough to win on the road? Are they good enough to win against a tough Iowa team at home? But I guess here's my question: with is the best 2 leagues the Big 12 and the Big 10, or is it just that the best 2 leagues are the Big 10 and Big 12 to win the national championship? And then there's the argument, the trickle down argument, Dilly. Who's the best team? Who's going to be the conference that the champion comes out of? I'm going to lean towards the Big 12.
Yeah, I mean, you're a Houston Cougars guy. We've established that as far as the championship. I did find that graphic you sent, and what seemed funny, again, I'm relatively lay person at college basketball. You and Druzy, let's take a moment. Should we take a moment? You're slamming a little some PEDs there. I'll take a moment because I mentioned Druzy. A couple shout-outs that we forgot to do. And, folks, you're going to hear a lot more about this in the future whenever Druzy's back from Arizona. Congrats to Druzy. Got the hole-in-one. He's golfing with family, some uncles and his dad and stuff. They didn't even see it. They weren't watching. They were yakking and John. They were with him, though. So Druzy got that hole-in-one. I think he said it was a 154-yard par 3, and he used his driver, I'm sure, and bounced off a tree and trickled in. We'll get the facts on that when Druzy's back with us. Back on topic, you and Druzy, and I trust you guys, you basically told me the SEC stunk. And I'm looking at an ESPN graphic. Hold that thought. ESPN graphic showing the SEC projected to get 11 teams in. Big 10, 10. ACC, 8. Big 12, 7. Now, we kind of agreed maybe with that in principle when we talked Big 10, Big 12, that Big 10 is stronger. Let's just focus in on this SEC, 11 teams in the tournament. We're talking, if you go 11 team deep, I think you're talking about Auburn at like 14 and 11 or something. Is that the 11th ranked team in this conference? 1, 2, 3, 4, 9, 10. Oh, Georgia, 18 and 8. Georgia, 6 and 7 in conference. Are we missing something on the SEC, or is there perhaps any ulterior motives in this graphic?
Yeah, I think I. Are you talking about money under the table here? Are you talking about a conference maybe paying off a broadcasting juggernaut? Is that what you're getting at here, Dilly?
Well, the SEC network is partnered with ESPN. They are hand in hand. They are basically one giant corporation. Money is thick. They shove the SEC down our throats during college football season. And perhaps, I'm just asking a question, when all year we're kind of thinking, yeah, these teams kind of stink. And I mean, that's, we talked a little bit about Florida. We kind of like Arkansas. We think Alabama's athletic. Look, it's not the worst. These aren't all the worst teams, but to suggest that they're the favorite to have the most teams in the tournament, like these, Georgia's knocking out a Big 10 or a Big 12 team out of the tournament, I don't know, my friend.
Yeah, I've got some big questions about that. And I think this is a league that's very top heavy, right? Extremely top heavy. And I'm talking maybe the top 2 teams have a significant chance. The only other team that I believe in this conference outside of Florida and Arkansas is Alabama. And the only reason I say that is I don't think Alabama, even tonight, they are not fully healthy. They're still waiting to get fully healthy. I don't care. Get healthy at the right time. Get healthy right before the NCAA tournament, and you can play. These guys are athletic. So I'm telling you, Vanderbilt, Tennessee, Kentucky, who just fell out of the top 25, Alabama, who just got into the top 25 because Kentucky fell out, Texas, Missouri, Texas A&M, and Georgia are not sniffing the top 25. Come on, man. These guys are barely 500. Those that aren't named Georgia are barely 500 because Georgia isn't 500 in the conference. And these guys are playing. It's not a good league. It's not like that was the most maddening thing I heard on college game day basketball I've ever thought of. They got it right with the Big Ten. They got it right with the Big 12. But holy frights, we got to throw some shade on the SEC. They're not who they were. I do think Florida's a legit. I think Kansas is legit with that flipping point guard he can make it from anywhere. He's fearless. It's a great team. But even them, they're 19-6. Florida had a slow start. They're 20-6. Come on, man. These guys are beating up on each other for nothing.
You slipped the word Kansas in there once. Surely you didn't mean Kansas.
Arkansas, sorry.
Arkansas. Maybe you did say Arkansas. It's not your Kansas. It's Arkansas. Just a little note to the listeners and viewers, of which there are many. Go ahead and turn off ESPN programming up until tip-off, and then, watch the games, of course. They bought the rights for the games. You're not forced to listen to their analysis. Come to the Audible angle for that. And if ESPN pushes their weight around and we get overinflated SEC representation in the NCAA tournament, use the Audible angle to your advantage and snipe those teams that are not named Florida, basically. Or possibly Arkansas, maybe Alabama if you want to have a little fun. Knock those teams out by the Sweet 16 or in the Sweet 16. Easy pickings. You're going to have some money coming your way, and that is not guaranteed. By the way, do not file a claim with our broadcast partners or our sponsors for any picks that you make. Irby, I got off the script here a little bit. We got some other big matchups that we want to cover or coming up and cover. And I'm going to get back to him. What do we have? What did I miss? Arizona? Is it Arizona and Houston? What's the Big 12 matchup for this showcase weekend?
Arizona BYU is tonight. I will tell you that one thing I want to talk about is BYU's kind of tumble here late in the season, late in the regular season. They're currently ranked 23rd. They lose to Arizona tonight, which is a late game. Arizona tumbled. We've got to talk about that, Dilly. Arizona's now ranked 4th. We kind of hint on it on the front end, but there's a tough schedule going in for Arizona, man. Coming home, that is a team that has a tough schedule. I do like Arizona in this game over BYU. BYU's got some good players, but they're just not playing well right now, which surprises me. A veteran team, BYU's been there before. They've been successful last year. Same team, essentially. I think they're one of the teams in the NCAA that returned damn near all of their starters, and maybe only got better with A.J. Diabanza.
That'd be a big red flag for Arizona if they go down at home to BYU. It'd be a big get-right game for a team that we believe is all right in BYU. I think the matchup I was thinking of is actually coming up Saturday in the Big 12. And that is the Cougs. And what the hell game was I thinking of? Arizona and Houston. Yeah. Now that is a clash of titans. I mean, is it possible that we see a little Michigan State action from Arizona here? And I'm referencing Michigan State coming off the big loss and thinking, man, I feel sorry for those kids in Minnesota because we're pissed off. We're gonna kick their ass, and then they went ahead and lost that game. Because you think Arizona, they have to be feeling like, wow, now it's BYU. We'll get right and get ready for Houston on Saturday. I mean, game hasn't tipped yet.
Yeah, it's the Big 12, dude. There's not a game that you can sleep on. I think it maybe the Big 12 is quite honestly one of those conferences where you can't sleep. You can sleep a little in the Big 10, a little. Maybe a nap, maybe a cup of coffee and a nap, like a day nap, afternoon nap. But I will tell you, Arizona is one of those teams, and I think I said it. I'd like to go back in the archives. We'll get the producer Bob on this. But I think I said that Arizona may end with 4 losses on the year, and when they were undefeated, and look, they're halfway there. This is a team that I don't even know if they get past Iowa State. I don't know if they I don't know if they can beat Houston. I am a leaner to the Cougs, Calvin Sampson and the boys. But boy, it's a great weekend. Great time to be alive in college basketball, enjoying it. We got a little bit of love for the Wisconsin Badgers here, which then they burst our bubbles, but great time to be watching basketball.
We had, I don't know, Irby, just explain this one to me. You had on the list, and maybe it's something I missed, very possible, Arizona State over Texas Tech. Now, Texas Tech, again, is one of the, and now I know why you brought it up. Texas Tech was one of those teams where it's kind of like a Nebraska, Purdue kind of, are they going to get over the hump? Are they going to move into that top echelon of the Big 12? And was this game a setback or an oversight? Because, that Arizona State is not one of those teams in the next tier down. They're a couple tiers down.
Yeah, Arizona State had a run last year. They're not that far removed from that run. Maybe it was 2 years ago, but this is another Big 12 matchup where, hey, Drewsy's not here to defend himself because he's out celebrating somewhere down in Arizona after he after he kicked one in. I've never seen a guy take a picture on a hole-in-one holding the putter, by the way. F- from Drewsy. Don't care the reasoning. There's no reason you bring your putter to fix your flipping ball mark, and we know you didn't make a ball mark because it skipped off the goddamn cart path anyway, went in. So Balarkey on that. Love
not to mention, Balarkey. Let me jump in here on Drewsy a little bit. I mean, not to mention, here's an idea when you get a hole in one and you take a picture by the pin. Yeah, hey, what's the putter doing in hand? And I looked at it. I thought I was looking at an AI image where they get the fingers wrong. He's not holding up a one. We don't even know what he got on the hole. He just had a couple too many vodka crayons and started sending us pictures. They're like, oh, cool, green, I guess, because he's not holding up a number one. He's not holding the ball. He's not kissing the flag. He's just kneeling with this putter. No, I think he got a 4 on it. I mean,
Here's the deal. One of the excuses, because we called him out. We don't pull punches on the audible angle, and we certainly don't pull punches when we're talking to each other outside of the audible angle. I asked him. I called him. He's like, Irby, I'll be honest. I was a couple of drinks in. I had to use it for leverage. Baloney. Wrong answer. Here's the deal. If you were sober enough to make a hole in one, you're sober enough to stand by the flag and say, I got a 1, you bonehead. This is likely. I'm calling bullshit. I'm gonna have to get some lie detectors out. We're not giving them the prize. We know it's a prize. We're not giving the prize.
It might be the end of the audible angle if we try to get his dad or his uncle to appear on the program to verify what happened. Because he already said they missed everything. But I mean, these guys. You can't hold them down. I mean, they'd be sitting in studio thinking we'd have to tell them that on this show we have pull tabs that you can buy and light beers, and they'd be like, do they shoot out of the computer? How do I get the pull tabs? Like, what's happening here? Jeez Louise. And then they'd be like, oh, I heard the pull tabs are hot over on this other podcast, and they'd be up and out of there. You wouldn't see them again. Be characters.
We'll tell them that there's some duck racing at halftime of there's duck racing or horse racing, and they'll be both in.
Yeah, during the show, we'll do a duck race. Winner, wins $250. All you have to do is put in $250 before you win, and then boom, we won.
Deal. Great deal.
Rhode Island over St. Louis.
Yeah, St. Louis, this is a game that I think is worth talking about. St. Louis had worked themselves up to number 13th ranking.
18?
Wrong, 18th ranking, which is pretty high for a mid-major program in St. Louis. The coach is in the conversation for Coach of the Year, and then you go lay an egg to Rhode Island, who's good at ice hockey and bowling. Rhode Island hasn't won anything in the NCAA tournament for men's basketball since – I don't know, never. So this is a loss that St. Louis probably couldn't afford. they probably move into the last 4 in line with this as well as long as they play well in their conference tournament. But that's one of those teams where they can't afford to lose. Miami of Ohio, that you're also on that list. You can't afford to lose. Yale, you're on that list. You can't afford to lose. Great seasons, but this is the NCAA. Takes the best 64 to get there.
Yeah, it just puts you at risk in the conference tournaments. Something weird happens, and it happens a little too early. You're at the hands of ESPN trying to get the 14th SEC team in at 6 games under 500, so they can pump up the SEC network a little bit more. How about our guy? Another off topic here. Now, folks, we'll give you a little preview of the rest of the show. Time remaining, separate episode possibility. We do want to get to some hockey updates, and there's some big ones today from Olympic hockey. But I have to ask you, what about our guy? What do you think of our guy this week calling on the commissioner to explain what the hell necessitates a technical foul on a coach when he's in the box and he's not swearing and he's not being demonstrative?
Who is Doug Gottlieb for 500, please?
Yeah,
Doug, I tell you, doing a good job getting the team that is UW Green Bay, my alma mater, to be playing better basketball, meaningful basketball in the middle of February. It's been a lot of years. It's maybe been since our friend Mike Heidemann was there. It's been a long, long time. No disrespect to the North Dakota coach, South Dakota, whatever he was, Sundance Wicks, who had a cup of coffee at UW Green Bay and then went back west. Kind of used us to get successful and got another role. But anyway, Doug, we've got to watch ourselves. And I believe I saw a quick blurb, Dilly, today. You can confirm this. I believe he got suspended. I believe there's a suspension. I believe there is. Look it up while I talk here. But I think that rant earned himself a suspension, a 1-game suspension. I believe the assistant coach is going to be coaching the Phoenix at Oakland, which is a big game. Doug won't be on the sidelines. UW Green Bay said that they've talked to him and he apologized.
For what? Apologize for what?
For his rant, his post-game rant. The F word. The calling out the commissioner. The telling him he wants to know what a foul is.
What year is this? How does a coach get called suspended for speaking the truth?
Here's the deal, Dilly. You probably haven't lived it like I did, but there's a huge rivalry in the basketball. There's a huge rivalry with men's soccer. I'm sure it's volleyball. I'm sure it's softball. I don't actually. Maybe it's not
cross
softball.
Country.
Yeah, cross country. UW Milwaukee and UW Green Bay do not like each other. There is no pulled punches there either. They actually cannot stand each other. And that losing that game the way he lost it when they were up 6 with 1 to play, there's some frustrations from Doug. He made it known. He was demonstrative during the post-game presser. He did use cuss words during the post-game presser. He did stay
out of the box during the post-game presser.
Correct. So he may have got a technical foul and had a 1 game. I believe he has a 1-gamer. I saw that posted, unless it's fake news, but I'm pretty sure that happened.
Yeah, I mean, I like the spirit. I mean, get your boys on the map. Get that NIT invite secured. You're over 500. Boys are battling. The Brown County Arena is packed to the brim with brim. Could be a sponsor, maybe a coffee sponsor. I'm having a late night coffee here myself.
I don't know where you're looking, Dilly, but I've got it on CBS Sports, Yahoo Sports, WBAY, ESPN, and the Press Gazette. All are reporting that Doug Gottlieb receives a 1-game suspension by our friends in the Horizon League.
Yeah, no, I didn't contradict that. What are you trying to say?
Well, I just didn't know. I didn't hear you confirm it. So I'm confirming it for myself by the 6 sources. I got Rob Domofsky on ESPN.
Oh, thank God.
His issues with the Packers, kicking them and going right to Doug Gottlieb and saying, Shut your mouth, dog. Be better.
They're going to win something soon. I can feel it. I can feel it in my bones. They got big things coming. Tony Bennett's got to have a son or grandson or somebody's got. There's got to be a Bennett coming through or Nordgaard coming through, Knipple coming through. I mean, send those boys. Why don't you send all the boys up to GB and raise it up, run the town, run the state? Come on.
Hate to say it, Dilly. All of the Nordgaards said no thank you to UW Green Bay. All of the Knipples that could have said yes or no they're not. The next one ain't picking UW Green Bay, I'll tell you that. He's going somewhere big.
Blasphemy. Anything else we missed in college basketball? Success early may fail. What? Arkansas, Bama, who do we like there? And Kansas facing a trap game at Oklahoma State versus Oklahoma State?
This is the game. I don't like Oklahoma State. The Cowboys have not been good for a long time here. I like Kansas. They're playing better. They are one of the sleepers. I don't know if you can sleep at 8, but they are a late bloomer here in the NCAA men's basketball. I like them. The other loss that I wanted to highlight was Louisville tanked against SMU, who's good at basketball or at football, not basketball. Not sure how that happened. Louisville, congratulations. You were in the top 25 for a while. You're not going to be anymore. See you later. Thanks for playing. You stink. You don't stink as bad as last year. That's your consolation prize. I think that's about all I needed to cover. I do want the fans to know that there is a good team. They're the Florida Gators. The Florida Gators are the defending national champion. They're the defending national champion for a reason. They've got a 7'6" guy on their team who has to consume 10,500 calories a day. Who cares? Great reporting, ESPN. Blah.
So that Tony Menders said, we're going to call a quick audible here and go to live action. Live action. We got Arkansas 86, Alabama 89. Who gives a shit? Let's talk about this game. We got our old friends, Cinderella Tempters, Creighton, up 7 on UConn with 4 minutes, 43 seconds left. Irby, you getting that up on the boob tube on TNT or HBO Max?
I'll get it. I got it. I'm going to pull her up. I'm pulling her up now. That'd be a huge upset, and it'll prove us right again, Dilly. UConn is a joke. They're a farce. They're a fake news. All of it. Their coach likes to yell and scream. There's another Doug Gottlieb in the making. He's smart enough not to talk shit about the referees.
I mean, I brought up that Arkansas-Alabama game, in part because, I guess that's kind of the top of the division of that that league. But it is, to think the 20th ranked team and the 25th ranked team are representing the upper echelon of their conference and a real shootout. Apparently they're not playing defense in the SEC, but I don't know. That still just feels like whatever. You think they're beating Duke or they could beat Arizona, not enough big guys, but
I was listening to the game before I jumped on the episode here, Dilly, and this is the first time tonight that I heard the commentators talking about our guy over at the from Green Bay. They're talking about him being a first-round draft pick on that team. So really looking forward to him if he can shake that up. Maybe, I don't know if that's
on Bama, right?
Yeah, plays on Alabama. Amari Allen.
Yep. Let's do a little wrap up here because we are gonna. We'll just see if we can take this through towards the end of one of these games here. For instant analysis, I have a couple little updates. We're gonna take it to the ice for a couple minutes here. One, I'm almost back, fast forwarding through and doing commercials on Peacock replays to the spot I was at 4 hours ago watching Canada collapse against Italy in the 10th end in women's curling. Almost there, not quite. I'm about to watch Canada take a 3-point lead before somehow they end up not securing the win immediately. Now, I didn't watch overtime, no spoilers. We're going to go back to the ice with real-life drama practice number 1 of the father-daughter figure skating number with all the participants. It's coming up in a couple weeks. One of the favorite times of the year. Old JD went down, hit the ice pretty hard. Had a lot of bystanders asking me how I was doing. I actually didn't feel hurt at all, and then I got some text later that said I looked like a stunt man the way I went down, because I didn't try to stabilize myself. I kind of rolled, went shoulder first, kind of rolled through it. It was a pretty hard dive on the old ice. Urbs, do you figure skate at all?
I don't figure skate. I did dabble a little bit in the old pond hockey back in my younger years, back in college. A lot of college soccer teammates were from Minnesota, so I had no choice. Picked up some of that. I did have my fair share of falls. Got fairly decent at skating, nothing compared to the Minnesota guys. Tell you what, man, that's a dangerous thing by Colin. You're lucky your collarbones survived. How are they doing? Are they still connected?
Yeah, because I didn't stick my arm out to catch myself because I'm not a moron. I tucked the arm, shoulder first, and rolled. I mean, that's collarbone is kind of usually when you put your arm out. Now, if you're total fragile, just a direct hit like that. But I was glancing because I'm moving, I'm jigging, I'm jiving, and I'm just staying out of harm's way. Now, I did, when I went to get up off the ice, which is pretty miraculous when you try to do that yourself when you can't skate. Yeah, folks, by the way, I can't really skate. I forgot that part of it. I was able to get myself up, and there's only about 5 minutes left in the 1 hour long practice. First time skating of the year, and the first time I skated ever before was last year's first practice. Got a cramp in the old abdomen from muscling up from the ground. So everybody came up so then I was kind of like this. I'm pulling away from the mic. I'm stretching like this, trying to get rid of the abdominal cramp. And everybody's like, "Oh, are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I got a cramp," which, I still feel manly. And now let's get back to the ice. USA hockey. Were you watching? Late goal by, what was it, Sweden? Those SOBs?
Yeah,
was it
Sweden? Sweden. Sweden brought it to 2-1, or was it 2-0? I wasn't watching the game.
No.
How was that work?
It was 1-0 with a minute left. Sweden tied it up. We went to 3-on-3 overtime classic in the Olympic quarterfinals. Sweden was kind of ended up, I think they had a draw that they shouldn't have had, so it was a little unfortunate the way the seeding worked out for the bracket that we are playing them in the quarterfinals. But I didn't know this because U.S. obviously didn't go to overtime. They're just smashing everybody so far. It's 3-on-3 hockey for overtime in the Olympics, which is basically all-out sprint. They fly up and down the ice, and after 15 seconds, maybe 20 at the most on the ice, damn near on a breakaway, they'd pull it off to the side and do a line change. But USA did get the overtime goal. We advance to the semifinals, so crisis averted for the U.S. men's hockey team. And then we got the women.
Did I call a quick audible, Dilly?
Yeah, audible.
Audible.
Yeah.
Yesterday, there was an interesting thing I saw this morning. But it was yesterday. Did you see? I know you didn't. Did you catch the Iowa Hawkeyes baseball spring training score against UW Platteville? We got some things to talk about here. Iowa set a record for scores of runs scored against UW Platteville, and I will tell you, UW Platteville is a Division III baseball team. Iowa is a Power 5 conference baseball team. Sure, they were playing somewhere warm. It wasn't Iowa, wasn't Platteville. Much warmer. 34-5? What are you doing? Why are you playing that game? Why are you beating them 34-5? What's the point, Iowa Hawkeye guy? What is the point? Platteville wanted to play you because you guys are close. Platteville's never giving you another game. Why do you do that? What a dumb score. Pull your guys. Play your manager. Don't score 34 runs.
I mean, how many innings is there? I mean, it's an exhibition game. It's a preseason exhibition game. You know, just say, hey, let's start over, runner back. We'll rotate the guys. We'll have our guys bat left-handed. They don't know that the switch hitters are working on switch hitting when they're not switch hitters. Have them bat the other side. What are we doing?
Who's the manager? Fire the manager at Iowa. Fire him. If I was, you know what? If I'm the next Big Ten team that plays Iowa anywhere, if I'm the next Power 5 conference team that plays anywhere, and I know we've got listeners from them, managers, instruct your starting pitcher to throw out the first 3 batters at minimum. If those bitches come out unscathed, throw out the next 3. Get yourself a reliever. I want a flamethrower. Throw at them. And if that doesn't work, throw one into the dugout, right at the manager. See if that can stop this madness. 34-5. What are you doing? It's D1, D3. You really need that for your egos, jamokes.
Jamoke alert in Iowa, nonetheless. Who would have guessed Iowa was on Jamoke alert? Irby, we've been almost stalling a little bit here. Can you bring us up to speed on either game here as we do instant analysis on Creighton? Still up 9? Does that sound right? Alabama trying to hang on, 30 seconds left?
Yeah, and it looks like Arkansas's got the ball at half court here. We'll see what they draw up. I would tell you right now, watch for that freshman, the freshman phenom. The guy can hit from anywhere, but this is where the length of Bama is going to come into play. I think this is going to be a good 30 seconds. Here we go, Dilly. Here we go. Maybe we should talk a little women's hockey while this happens. Whoop. We got a foul, no hoop. Want to talk a little women's hockey, US Canada?
Yeah, that's a big matchup. There's some hard feelings there. That's tomorrow, correct?
Yes, sir. Tomorrow, prime time, 11:10 a.m.
Yep, prime time. Now, I will admit, as I have before in those Olympics, I'm not afraid to miss the live action and then catch the replay. I will say basketball, maybe not one of those sports where you look at the clock and say, there's a minute left. Let's draw out the podcast for live reactions, because it could be 35 minutes.
Yeah, this isn't wise. We've got free throws here. I'll tell you what, Dilly, U.S. Canada women's, U.S. took care of Canada in group play, 5-0. Do you expect the same? Is there any reason not to expect the same? Is that French gal, their stud, is she back playing or is she still injured? Haven't looked into that. Maybe we should have before the show. Dummies. We're the 2 jamokes. But does it really matter? Will it matter?
We blame the production team. They're supposed to have things teed up for us. They didn't. I'll tell you what. It doesn't matter one bit. I don't even know who you're talking about. She must be French-Canadian if she's on the Canadian team. Does not matter. USA wins. The women, especially USA women's hockey, they're just animals. It's one of those sports. I'll take you back. Let me take you back. Before you throw your arms up and get all weird, let me take you back to 1996. Sorry, no. When the hell did we graduate? Graduated college in 2000. 1999 or 2000. I'm in a sports management, whatever, some class to do with whatever, where I got to write not quite a thesis, but a nice long paper about sports. And you know what my paper is? And they told us these essays were going to be put in a file, available forever. I haven't gone back and looked. I assume it's not there because physical paper kind of went out the window. Can you guess the content of my paper? It is on women's sports.
Was it women's hockey?
Yes, it was in fact that women's hockey and women's soccer. Now, this is before I got disenfranchised a little bit by the U.S. women's national team with becoming a political operation more than a team. Sidebar. But how USA or women's hockey and women's soccer would be and were and I don't know if I put always, will be, forever, a better sport, a better product than the WNBA, because the WNBA was not, and this is, again, folks, this is 2000, and now I know we're talking WNBA, it's hard times on the Audible Angle. They're in their labor dispute and whatever. They weren't a functioning league back then. It was being propped up by the NBA, and the whole paper kind of outlined that as it was in 2000, and that soccer and hockey were stronger sports because they were building on actual achievement and interest. And I'll tell you what, I stand by that paper. I hope some 2015 person and maybe a 2026 person finds an old dusty file drawer with essays from the year 2000. They reads it and they think, oh man, this guy's some kind of male chauvinist pig. Oh wait, he's actually touting several women's sports, but not the one that was getting artificially pumped up. Maybe he has a point, but I don't know. I don't know if a college student could comprehend that. Your thoughts, Irby?
Last 7 Olympics, last 8 Olympics, U.S. and Canada have indeed dominated. Contrary to your belief, Sweden won 1 of those Olympics gold medals in women's hockey. The by and far better team up until today, up until tomorrow, with 5 wins is Canada. Canada has 5 gold medals in the Olympics. The U.S., 2 Olympic gold medals. U.S. is trying to narrow that gap. They did what they can. They did what they had to in regular games. But you got to do it in this next game to get the 3rd gold medal.
Let me just interrupt for a second. While I was certainly probably referencing the United States national teams, I was also generally speaking about the sport itself of women's hockey and women's. I know I already saw Arkansas, Alabama go to overtime. Our dreams are shattered. But no, I'm just saying as a whole, women's hockey, women's soccer, far superior to specifically the WNBA. We do have to do a little shout out for women's NCAA basketball. Western Kentucky, tough year for them so far. Big fan of the program, Lola Bond and her dad, Travis Bond, big fans of the program. Western Kentucky, Hilltopper women got back to their winning ways. They got a win last week. We'll just say that. It's not quite winning ways, but you can't win 2 in a row if you don't win 1, right?
That is a true statement.
Irby, we're giving up. We're giving Creighton the win. We're giving Arkansas, Alabama overtime. See ya.
Yeah, that's it. See ya.